Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. This is True Crime in the Morning. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos. My friends call me Sleuth. Today we will be discussing the Lindsey Baum case. I'd like to welcome all you guys in. Hello, Kristen, 63, Doris, Orejito, Beth, and Shadowbox. Welcome in, guys. We'll get going here in just a minute. Right, now this case is out of McCleary, Washington, 2009. And Lindsey was 10 years old at the time. This is an unsolved crime. A couple different suspects or people of interest along the way. They may be getting close, but definitely nothing official. Good to see you, 517. Are you guys familiar with this case at all? Sub 63. Shadowbox, just need you to know, Sleuth, that you fuel my workday almost every day. I appreciate that. I hope you're having a great workday. Don't let anybody get you down. You can see all the personality behind those eyes. This case reminds me a lot of the Carly Bruscia case. You know, just walking a short distance from a friend's house, it never makes it. Checking the deuce. Okay, so we got a couple articles, couple videos. I spent all night putting some maps together. There was some things online, but it's just not quality. It's blurry images, people not taking the time to accurately find the specific locations that are involved in the case. So I put together some things that I think will be helpful for her case here. We'll take a look at those in a minute. So I think we'll start here. It's from people.com. And this will act as an overview for the case facts. It's titled Little Girl Vanishes Walking Home Alone at Night and is found dead years later. Lindsey vanished in McCleary, Washington on June 26, 2009, and her remains were finally found last fall, I think it was 2017. This article is by Adam Carlson and Jeff Truesdell from people.com. Sarah, welcome. My daughter is 11. Terrifying. Yeah, and unfortunately, you can't let her walk up the street alone. You know, it's that old Bible verse, behold, I send you out as sheep amidst the wolves. You know, and that's what we are, right? Sheeple. You know, we're like a flock. And if you look at any actual flock of sheep, you know, they got the sheepdog protecting the herd. But every once in a while, they're going to stray and they're just not protected. We're surrounded by predators. That is the reality. Hey, what's up, Peruvian? Yeah, this case is going to break your heart. Okay, when 10-year-old Lindsey Baum set out one summer night in 2009 to walk the 10 or so blocks back to the house in McCleary, Washington, she shared with her mother and older brother it seemed impossible that she wouldn't return safely, and yet somehow she vanished along the way. Early this week, nearly 9 years later, authorities announced that Lindsay's remains had been recovered, confirming her final fate, if not the remaining mysteries in the case, such as who was responsible and why. We are continuing to look at any and all possibilities, Gray Harbor County Sheriff Rick Scott tells people. We'll move forward as quickly as we can. The real work begins now. Here's what you need to know about Lindsay's disappearance and death. Tips can be submitted to investigators by phone or online at 360-964-1799 or bombtips at co.grays-harbor.wa.us. She was alone and walking home before vanishing. Lindsay was with a friend when she walked away from her home about 9 p.m. on June 26, 2009, hoping for a sleepover with her pal. But when the other girl's mom said no, Lindsay turned back alone down a path where she was familiar, facing the tiny, tight knit community. She had left her cell phone charging at her house. It was a nice summer day. Sheriff Scott told people in 2009, when he was an undersheriff of Grays Harbor County, she was walking home and never made it. Her disappearance and the total lack of clues about what happened forever changed the 1,400 residents of rural McCleary, a former logging town in western Washington, surrounded by thousands of acres of timberland. The innocence and the trust of that community has been lost, Scott said in 2009. There used to be little kids playing on the street all the time. Now they're as guarded as the metropolitan area. Paradise lost, right? Good to see you, Chorizo. Brett, welcome. How you doing? Yeah, the guilt. Number two, the mystery made national headlines but led to no breakthroughs. 50 minutes after the time Lindsay was due back, her mother, Melissa Baum, phoned the town police who launched a door to door search. The next day, regional FBI office and the Grays Harbor County Sheriff's Office joined in. The case soon came to national attention when it was featured in a November 2009 cover story of People. Investigators reviewed thousands of tips but found no physical evidence to explain what happened to Lindsay. Undaunted, Melissa spent her weekends leading volunteers through dense evergreen forest. Their intrepid searches turned up Prohibition-era cellars and bunkers, but no trace of Lindsay, but would have turned 11 just 11 days after she went missing. She was due to start sixth grade that fall. Lindsay is a bright, sharp-witted, creative little girl with her whole life ahead of her, her mom said at the time. She writes stories, and she illustrates her own stories. That's her biggest talent. She's a very creative writer. She's kind of one of a kind. The family had lived in McCleary for just over 2 years when Lindsay disappeared. It was a conscious choice by Melissa, a single mom, to settle herself and her kids in a place that promised to be safer than a bigger city. It's just a very small town, she said in 2009, and I'm ashamed to say I developed a false sense of security. Before this happened, nobody locked their doors here. It's a town where nothing happens. Good morning, anything I like. Welcome in. The Joy of Freckles, hey. Welcome, Brett. Hey, there's Mira. Good morning. Lindsay was found in the fall in a remote part of the state. Speaking at a Thursday news conference to announce the discovery of Lindsay's remains, Scott said she was unknowingly found in September by hunters in eastern Washington, after which her body was sent to an FBI crime lab for DNA analysis. Testing confirmed Lindsay's identity in recent weeks. He said the delay was because the remains were randomly discovered and didn't appear linked to any investigation, so they were not prioritized over other materials at the lab. See, this is the stuff that really bothers me. You find human remains. How the hell would you know if it's related to anything until you test it? What do you mean it's not part of any urgent investigation? Like, what are you talking about? It obviously is most likely related to one of these investigations, right? You have a dead person laying in the middle of the woods. What do you mean you're not going to prioritize it? That doesn't just happen. These are the types of things that frustrate me with law enforcement and investigators. Oh, we didn't prioritize it because we weren't really looking for anybody out there. Well, you've had at least, just looking at this case, there was 3 to 4 missing um, children from that same area. So don't you think it would click that possibly it's one of those children? And who knows who's missing from those communities that are closer to where she was found? What do you mean you're not going to prioritize it? That shit pisses me off. Scott did not identify the exact area where Lindsay was found. We kind of know the area, and we'll take a closer look, but I don't know the exact location. I think they're saving that for when they catch this guy or these people. Beyond noting that it was largely used for hunting, with no one living there, or further described the condition of her remains. He said the vast majority of the questions people were going to have about the case would be unanswerable at this time due to the ongoing investigation. I think that could be expected. On Saturday, the sheriff's office in Cotydus County, Washington, said Lindsay's remains had been found there more than 100 miles east of McCleary. Speaking to people on Friday, Scott declined to discuss any potential suspects or motive or Lindsay's cause of death, but said more information will likely be released in the coming weeks. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even let, my teenage daughter do that. She was recently got grounded for doing something similar while she was at a friend's home, and I caught her. What's up, GP? Says that would piss me off if I was a family member of that baby. It's disgusting to hear something like that. Oh, yeah, we found a body, but it just really wasn't a priority at the time. It didn't really go with any of our cases we were looking at. Well, no shit, because you didn't test the DNA. That should have been the first thing you did. How are you going to know? I just hate how they try to brush all the signs of their incompetence under the rug. Like, instead of saying, we screwed up, we should have done better. Oh, well, we didn't do it because it wasn't a priority at the time. They just throw out all these catchphrases, and the majority of people out there, you guys are gullible. You just eat up whatever is spoon fed to you. Stop doing that. Because that's why they do it, because they get away with it. This investigation is very complex. Oh, you mean you don't want to share any of the information that might be helpful? Why? Exactly, Sparky. Sparky says you don't know anything until you analyze it. Why do they do that? I don't know. How were they? It could have been the biggest clue to the biggest case they've ever worked, and they wouldn't even know it. Yeah. Shake my head. Number 4, remains will help narrow the investigation. The discovery of Lindsay's body serves as a roadmap to hone investigators' efforts. After years of uncertainty about what happened to her, Scott says. Yeah, they had age progression and all that. being passed out and handed out. It's just heartbreaking. He says that one imminent next step in the investigation will be a forensic examination of the area where Lindsey was found. There's going to be a group of detectives that are going to go back over everything, he says, such as, is there somebody that we looked at, that we dealt with in the thousands and thousands of contacts and tips and pieces of information? Is there something that we find that's going to link somebody to the area in which the remains were found? Yeah, most likely. Very similar to the Evansdale murders. The girls were kidnapped from Evansdale, taken 25 miles away to the Seven Bridges area. There's a lot of hunting and camping that goes on out there, and it's pretty rural. So, in that sense, it's very similar. But there's probably an anchor point there, right? That's as far as they probably wanted to travel and then came back home. So, the killer is probably still here amongst Lindsay's family or that same area, or was at least around shortly after the time of the murders, in my opinion. Is there something that we find that's going to link somebody to the area in which the remains were found? In the nearly 9 years since Lindsay went missing, around 40 people have been investigated. Scott says the case has never been far from his mind. At least now we have a course, he says, noting that authorities are leaning more toward casting a wide net instead of focusing in on a particular person of interest. That's smart. And they've kind of narrowed it down to a group of brothers and a known sex offender who was in the area at the time that Lindsay went missing. We're going to look at both sets of suspects. What's up, Boston? I'm going to prioritize the fact that he is an idiot. That, yeah, that's a priority for me too. And it was, and I did. Consider that done. It's no longer a priority because it's been completed. Officially, whoever made that decision is an idiot. Yeah, we found a body in the woods, but we're going to go ahead and leave it in the back for a little bit. You know, if we hear something, then we might check it out. Like, what the hell is that? I mean, you think these investigators would be excited? Like, this could be, one of the big cases we've been working on. This could blow it wide open. It's not a priority. I don't get that. How the hell do you know it's not a priority? You don't even, how would you make that decision if you don't know what you're dealing with? All right. No, I'm going to stop. We're going to move on from that. I'm not going to let it irritate me. Behind a mother's grief after years of hope. In the decade until she learned the truth, Melissa Baum, Lindsay's mother, did not stop believing her daughter had survived her disappearance. I know my daughter's alive, and I'm not going to quit looking for her until we find her. Melissa told People in November of 2009, I just know she's out there, waiting for us to find her. I just feel it. Last year in an interview with NBC News, she said, I believe 1,000% that Lindsay is alive. Sheriff Scott told People this week that he personally delivered the news to Melissa that Lindsay had at least been found. Melissa still lives in the area, though she has moved several times. When I knocked on her door and she opened the door, I saw I was standing there, and not the normal detectives who meet with her and talk to her. She knew, Scott said. She knew when I knocked on the door. Authorities subsequently shared confirmation of Lindsay's remains with her older brother, Joshua, who also lives in Washington, and her father, a National Guardsman who was training at the time. Speaking to reporters on Thursday, Scott said Lindsay's family was understandably rocked by the development and asked for some time to themselves in order to get their heads wrapped around what's happened. While they were grieving, they also thanked the public for its support. The prayers and hopes of the family were that we would someday find her alive and bring her home, Scott said. Now, the reality is we need to find a homicide suspect. And that's where we're at, guys. They need to find who did this because he's most likely responsible for other murders. If you do something this horrible and you get away with it, you're probably going to do it again. Welcome to members, Peruvian. Or should I say, welcome back? Good to see you, Violet Dragon. Beach Fairy, how you doing? Feel like I haven't seen you in a minute. Welcome in. Yeah, we missed you too. Welcome back. Chorizo says, Merry Christmas. Okay, and we also have the Lindsey Baum Affidavit. That's going to be kind of a long read. So this is going to be kind of a long-winded kind of live stream. But I think the information is important. Where should we go from here? All right, we'll go here.
June the 6th, 2009, 10-year-old Lindsey Baum disappeared
Can you guys hear that okay?
after leaving a friend's house. Something happened to Lindsey during her 3-block walk back to her home in the small town of McCleary in Grays Harbor County.
Trying to get information about the missing girl. Have you guys heard about that?
And we really want to talk to that person that might have solved the one thing that's going to help us figure this out.
FBI agents and detectives scoured the area for any shred of a clue for more than a year, and they found nothing. The reward
Me
to
neither,
this day
Violet.
to solve the
That's why I
nine-year-old
do true
mystery
crime. I
is
can't handle it.
$35,000.
I wouldn't be able to.
It's been 17 painful years of mystery for the family of Tika Lewis, who was only 2.5 years old when she disappeared from the New Frontier Lanes bowling alley in Tacoma on January 23rd, 1999. While her family bowled, Tika wandered into the arcade a few feet away, and her family told police within a minute she was gone.
Tika's not going to go away without a fight. And whoever took my daughter, they had to have known my daughter to get away with her.
Sky Metawala was almost exactly Tika Lewis's age when he was reported missing in Bellevue by his mother, Julia Buryakova, on November 6, 2011. At the time, Buryakova told police she walked to a gas station with her daughter after pulling her car over on 112th Avenue Northeast because she ran out of gas.
You guys rock.
When they returned an hour later, she told police Sky was gone. Police later determined the tank wasn't empty, and Sky's mother refused to tell police anything more. Bellevue police and the FBI followed more than 2,000 tips searching for clues. To this day, police are still looking for the one good tip that could break the long, cold mystery of whatever happened to Sky.
It's just so sad. Cute little kid. It's just totally unfair.
June the 6th.
So, I mean, you got all these people coming up missing. You know, there's obviously somebody abducting these children. And I don't think they'll stop. They get better. You know, they look at their crimes. They look at them in the newspapers and on news, and they look at the evidence that they left behind, and they say, well, I'm not doing that next time. You know, or I need to do this better, or I won't do that. Kind of like the Golden State Killer. He went into attempt to murder one of his victims and encountered a large male who pretty much kicked his ass. And from that point on, there were certain things that he did not do. You know, he was evolving. Same MO, just much more careful, calculated. Yeah, thank you, Beach Fairy. You too.
Confirmation remains found by hunters in eastern Washington last fall are indeed those of the missing girl from McCleary.
Tonight, the Grays Harbor County Sheriff wants help finding her killer.
South Bureau Chief Drew Mickelson has our coverage and the emotional news conference from the sheriff. Drew.
Well, Mark, nearly 9 years ago, that sheriff, Rick Scott, told us he feared this Lindsey Baum case would haunt him the rest of his career. And today, he had to deliver the news no one wanted to hear.
I'm here today.
I mean, I'm glad that they found her, but the fact that this happened, I mean, it's just mind-boggling. You just don't understand. It's just basic fundamentals of existing, let live. Live and let live. It's very simple. What drives me crazy is what is going on in the mind of somebody who a lot of times they set out that day not to hurt anybody. What kind of person is driving by and sees a young girl walking and they just cannot resist it? Now, I wish that I had the training and the schooling to even start the process of trying to figure that out. How do we see this coming? How do these folks prevent it? Because I know a lot of you out there in the future are going to commit true crime. And that goes for anybody, right? It's going to happen. It's just statistically going to happen to somebody watching this video. Now, how can we help them to take more personal responsibility, to call out their own red flags and to not be ridiculed? Like, hey guys, I think something's wrong here. Something's going on with my psyche. I'm having some crazy thoughts. I need help from you guys. I feel like I'm becoming a danger to society. How do we make that more acceptable, more possible? I know recently there's been a lot of folks that were coming forward saying, hey, I struggle with pedophilia and I'm seeking help. I'm letting everybody know, out front that I have these problems. So I think we should make that more welcoming and more acceptable. That way we can get our eyes on these folks, keep them monitored, and they should welcome it. Because I believe that even as sick as most of these predators are, they don't set out to do these crimes. There's something wrong. There's some way that we can identify this.
To share with you that we've brought Lindsey home. We've recovered her.
Hunters in eastern Washington discovered Lindsey Baum's remains last September, but they weren't positively identified until sometime in the past 2 weeks.
Sadly,
thanks, Violet,
she was not recovered as we and her family had hoped and prayed these last 9 years.
In June of 2009, police, the National Guard, the FBI,
missing child,
and countless volunteers started searching for Lindsey Baum. The 10-year-old, who loved writing poems and reading, disappeared while walking home from her friend's house in McCleary.
I just need her to come home.
Hope was a constant theme whenever Lindsey's mother, Melissa Baum, spoke with us over the years. She always said her girl would someday come home safe.
I can't imagine living without hope. If I had none, I don't think I could make it through a day. In our position, that's all you have.
Sheriff Rick Scott says while the
Beach Fairy says, I wonder how many non-offending predators are out there trying not to do what they're compelled to do. Scary. Well, it's crazy that you brought that up, because we're about to see somebody who I think is arrested for a 2003 rape case, and they believe he is possibly tied to Lindsey. He's one of the main suspects in this case. He was actually at a gas station. We're going to see security footage or something along those lines. He was in the area at the time that she went missing, and he lied about it. So, I mean, he was right there, right in the path that she walks. He's in the occupying the same space and time. And funny thing about this guy, well, I wouldn't say funny, but the strange thing is no priors, nothing. Very similar to Richard Allen in the Delphi case. People are like, look, he's innocent. Look, he's never committed a crime. We have a 50-year-old male here who ends up being convicted of a cold case, and he has zero priors. Zero.
Outcome is sad. He hopes this new development in an old case will help solve the mystery.
Somebody out there has that nugget of information that we need to bring this case to complete closure and culminate in an arrest. We urge those people to have the courage to come forward.
We asked the sheriff why it took a couple of weeks for him to deliver this news and make it public. He would not comment on that.
agree,
He also
Clocks.
is not willing to disclose where the remains were found, other than saying it was in eastern Washington. He also would not answer any questions about any potential suspects, only saying that no one has been arrested and they need the public's help.
They need the public's help, guys. Share this video, make videos if you're a content creator. Join a Facebook group, let them know we're talking about the case. Just post it somewhere. Loyalties change over time, and somebody could be holding a secret that they want to let out. It's been causing a lot of grief in their life. It might be time to say, hey, such and such was responsible for this. He's been a very bad part of my life. I'm also a victim of these people. And this is what I know about this case. That could change everything for investigators. Now let's go to this comment here. Beach Fairy, if you know their secret language, you see many of them online. It's a very scary and sick part of the internet. Well, the scariest part about that, what you're talking about, Devoted, is the fact that they group together. Very similar to the way we've grouped together for awareness and to bring attention to these cases. And not only that, but just to kind of put our own paranoia at ease. We want to know our enemy. That's why I do true crime. I want to help prevent this from ever happening, because I don't think I can handle it the way a lot of these folks do. So I definitely commend them. And it's something they don't want to be commended for. It's just, every part of it is just torturous. Just to think about, there's no good way. There's no good next turn. It's just all bad. It's all product of something that's just completely awful, senseless, and honestly terrifies me. To know that some of these parents, their children were tortured and murdered and thrown out like trash. I don't know if I could handle that, guys.
Sheriff says he has been in touch with Lindsey Baum's family, and they are requesting privacy tonight. Obviously, this has impacted this community as well. Joining us with more on that is our colleague, Alyssa Hahn. Alyssa?
Drew, I know you remember this. 2 years after Lindsey disappeared, the people in this town planted this crabapple tree in her honor. Tonight, they are returning here to pay their respects. They say her disappearance changed the city. 9 years ago, the disappearance of a young girl left a mark on the city.
It's upset a lot of people, but it's just truly sad.
Just ask Tom Hawkins, who has lived here for 75 years.
What Lindsey Baum did for this community is what 9/11 did for the nation. It just took away our innocence.
Hawkins and other residents made their way to the community center today. Some people searched for the missing 10-year-old. Others had children in her class.
We've brought Lindsey home.
A few struggled to hold back tears when the sheriff shared the news.
It's
Hey,
sad
CJ.
and devastating that we didn't bring her home the way we all hoped. She was my
Hey, Jessica's asking, what year did this happen? This was in 2009, McCleary, Washington.
granddaughter's friend. And
Good to see you,
she's
Jessica.
so precious.
On the street where she used to live, neighbors still remember Lindsey Baum and her brother.
They've walked up and down the road and all over the place, like countless times.
Yeah, that is scary, Doris. Doris says, scary thing is, could be a family member, close friend. Don't trust anyone with your kids. God, that's so sad, but it's true. I mean, it is true. A lot of these killers, they pick their victims because it's somebody that they've been coveting. They see him day to day. They're fantasizing. They've begun to target them.
Lisi Smutka lives 2 doors down. She quietly held up hope all these years.
People were kind of thinking, well, maybe she ran off with friends or something like that or whatever. And I guess I was kind of still hoping that that's what she had done.
While hope in this community took a hard hit today, the people here are still resolved to finish what they started.
We found Lindsey. We'll find who did it. God is good.
Hell yeah.
He won't leave us hanging.
I agree with
One
that.
thing we heard about a lot today was sort of this lasting suspicion. Police searched so many homes, they questioned dozens of people, and neighbors really started to doubt each other, and they say that suspicion has been hard to shake. Reporting live in McCleary.
Yeah, that sucks. You know, you're looking at everybody as a potential suspect.
I'm here today to share with you that we've brought Lindsey home. We've recovered her. Sadly, she was not recovered as we and her family had hoped and prayed these last 9 years. Her remains were recovered in September of 2017.
Yeah, GP, my heart goes out to you.
Unknowingly by some hunters in a remote portion of eastern Washington. Those remains were turned over to local authorities, who in turn released them to the FBI, where they were confirmed to be human and sent to the FBI lab in Quantico, Virginia, for analysis for DNA. Because the remains were not associated with a specific criminal investigation, they were not analyzed for DNA until just recently. So just in the recent week, were we notified that the DNA collected from the remains matched the DNA.
Shadowbox says, unpopular opinion, but I have a real problem with the God is good. This is a murdered child. Seems he could have been good before she was killed. But that's like saying, I don't think that you can have free will and then have God intervention, right? So I think you can have the protection from evil that may be targeting you, but as far as controlling another man's free will, I don't think that that's what God's doing. You know, we have a choice to be good or bad. And it was a person who chose to be bad. He chose wickedness. And that's what we fight against on a daily basis. So no matter what, just existing is good, right? And I don't think as humans we can even attempt to comprehend what quote unquote God has planned, or how we all fit into all of it. For us to even attempt to do that more feeds into some kind of pride, or that we got it all figured out. You know, we didn't create ourselves. That's my opinion. And I do believe God is good because for that reason. And I believe that men can be bad. That's our free will. They've chosen of wickedness over righteousness.
Submitted to the lab in 2009. Today, we will not be releasing a lot of specific information to protect the integrity of what's now a kidnapping and homicide investigation.
What's up,
We're
Warrior?
going to keep our remarks rather general.
Free will.
I'll not be releasing the specific location or the nature of the remains. As the case
What's up, Ruckus?
progresses, that information will become available when we feel it's appropriate.
Shadow says, told you it was unpopular. Actually, today it's not unpopular. I think it's to the contrary.
For now, suffice to say that myself,
We're living in
my fellow sheriffs, the
different
FBI,
times.
and all of the law enforcement agencies who have been involved in this investigation will remain involved as needed until we.
That's a good way to look at it. 63 Clock says, to me, this is evidence of true evil. And that's how I see it, right? You got two roads you can pick in life. You can do good or you can do bad. It's up to you.
We bring the monster that's responsible for this and hold them accountable. I'm here today to share with you that.
I think I have a couple more videos here.
Years, detectives say they were able to match.
This will start going into the people of interest here.
Years, detectives say they were able to match DNA found at that 2003 crime scene to DNA found on coffee cups thrown away by a man named Paul Beaker. Now, police and the community of McCleary want to know if that match could help solve two long-time cold cases.
Is your true and correct name Paul James Beaker? Yes.
The 51-year-old father and former youth soccer coach with no criminal history.
Okay, did you guys hear that? Let me play that back.
And former youth soccer coach with...
Yes.
The 51-year-old father.
51-year-old father.
And former youth soccer coach.
And former youth soccer coach.
With no criminal history.
No criminal history. Doesn't that sound familiar?
Now faces several felony charges for a crime committed in 2003. Investigators say Beaker went to the home of a 17-year-old girl on Church Road in McCleary, where he kidnapped her and then raped her.
This is a case of a stranger. There was no relationship here.
Detectives say they linked Beaker's DNA with evidence recovered at the rape scene. The sheriff says the survivor's family was shocked to get a call 18 years later.
There was certainly a sense of relief on everyone's part, that we were able to give closure to the family and to make an arrest.
Nearly 12 years ago, another crime rocked McCleary. 10-year-old Lindsey Baum vanished while walking home from a friend's house in 2009. Her remains were found in 2017 in central Washington. She was last seen less than a mile from where the 2003 kidnapping happened, and Beaker lived in McCleary at that time. But investigators say that's where the similarities end, at least for now.
There is currently no evidence that would connect the two investigations.
And let's say this person here that they just arrested for the 2003 cold case, this rape case, let's say they didn't have any evidence. And then this guy goes and commits another crime, similar crime, maybe even a murder. And then they arrest him, but they can't tie him to another case. They're going to say, oh, well, this is his first offense. Then you're going to have professionals that come out and say, well, it's likely that he has, he's committed these offenses before. So I think if you're 51 years old and you're committing these types of crimes, I don't think I'm going out on a limb to say that it's most likely possible that they have similar cases that they weren't tied to.
But we're certainly not ignorant of the possibility, and we'll look into it as intently as we can.
I think about that every time I drive by and see her picture and wish that it was solved.
This town has not forgotten what happened to Lindsey. They still want closure and justice.
Even if he's not related to that particular case, I feel like it's still exposure and, it's keeping the name out there.
The judge ordered Beaker held on $250,000 bail. The Grace Harbor Sheriff says if anyone knows anything about the 2003 kidnapping and rape or the 2009 murder of Lindsey Baum, they would like to speak with you.
Yeah, this is a really bad one. Let's see, where should we go from here? So I do have some security footage that they pulled from the time she disappeared, from around the time. I don't think we'll go there yet. Let's continue on with these suspects here. This is another group of potential suspects, and this is really disgusting.
Another search for evidence at the home of three brothers accused of child exploitation.
There obviously are items that we have an interest in.
A vehicle recovered and more. And now detectives are trying to connect the dots.
They would have had an opportunity to be in the McCleary area at the time of Lindsey's disappearance.
To see if these men are connected to a high-profile missing children's case.
Investigators also want to know if there are more victims. Good evening, I'm Steve Rabel.
I'm Monique Minglovin. Cairo 7's Graham Johnson is live in Seattle's Green Lake neighborhood. And Graham, you were there as police searched that house today for the
I agree, devoted.
time.
Yeah, police say they've already been through the house, but they wanted to go through it one more time to make sure they didn't miss anything, because they say the three men here are hoarders, and they have collected some interesting things, including this Model A that you are seeing here right now. This is...
I'm getting Have you guys seen this movie? Hold on. These are the vibes I'm getting from this group of folks here.
I think I caught yours, Sonny. Hans. Hans. Oh, a fine Christian name. Hans Christian Andersen. What are you, Catholic? I don't know. I think I caught yours, Sonny.
Getting those vibes.
The second old car we have seen pulled out of the garage here. A few hours ago, we saw a car that was built in 1939. The Packard Super 8 that Seattle police removed today from this home near Green Lake is roughly as old as the three brothers who lived here. The Emorys, 82-year-old Charles, 80-year-old Thomas, and 78-year-old Edwin, are in jail charged with child sexual exploitation.
A little bit horrifying just because every day there's kids playing along these streets.
Today, neighbors witnessed the third search of this property by Seattle police as their investigation grows.
We're hearing from an awful lot of people now. We definitely want to hear from anybody that has any information on this.
Captain Mike Edwards told us the case that began with a relative finding evidence of child exploitation while cleaning this home is now leading to new tips and contacts with other police departments. Among the most interested, Sheriff Rick Scott of Grays Harbor County. Since 2009, he's been investigating the disappearance of 10-year-old Lindsey Baum.
We're certainly very interested in what's developing and the searches that will be conducted and have been conducted at that Shelton property.
Scott tells us a major search is being organized for Saturday of this 15 to 17 acre property in Shelton, the home of a fourth Emory brother.
It's like a
who's
haunted
now
house.
Dead. Scott says investigators found a Lindsey Baum missing person flyer in the Shelton house, which is a half hour away from Baum's hometown of McCleary. Scott says that in itself is not a major find because the flyers were widely distributed at the time. But he notes the Emorys had other relatives in Grays Harbor County.
I mean, that's just really strange for a child predator to put that flyer up on their wall at home. Very suspicious.
Would have had an opportunity to be in the McCleary area at the time of Lindsey's disappearance. They certainly would have been the type of people that would have victimized a girl her age.
And back live, another look at the Model A being removed from the Emory brothers' property here in Green Lake.
That's a good
Police
point,
tell me they
CJ.
now have evidence the Emory brothers sexually abused multiple young girls in their family decades ago. And those victims, they tell me, are now adults. They don't know if the brothers abused anyone outside of the family, but they have heard tips about young people who grew up in this neighborhood and might have had some contact with them. Detectives are now trying to track down those people, and they urge anyone with tips to come forward.
See, and I don't think they have any physical evidence is the problem. So even if the Emory brothers had something to do with this, it's like they need new evidence or something. I don't think they have DNA. I could be wrong.
Another search for evidence at the home of three brothers accused of child exploitation.
There obviously are items that we have an interest in.
A vehicle.
Oh, I think this is one we just watched.
To three North Seattle brothers accused of child sex exploitation. Their sister says her adult daughter is the one who turned them into Seattle police. And Cairo 7's Deborah Horn is live outside their home near Green Lake. And Deborah, you spoke to that sister.
Old school.
Monique, I talked to her by telephone. Edna told me she is
Model A.
surprised by what her daughter found inside this house, but she says she is glad her daughter turned her uncle.
I wouldn't even let my kids go anywhere near this creepy house. I mean, there's no way you could convince me that that place is not just haunted.
In.
I still haven't gotten over the shock of it.
We talked to Edna just a day after she got the news
Hey, D.
that what Seattle police found inside this home led to the arrest of her brothers, Charles, Thomas, and Edwin, her twin, for child sexual exploitation. She says her daughter was acting as executor for their oldest brother's estate when she made the terrible discovery.
She was in my Charles's room, and I guess she was going through the boxes and stuff to see what was in them. And she found these little shoes and stuff.
Can you believe that? This creep had like little kids' shoes, baby shoes and stuff. I mean, if that doesn't make your blood boil, I don't think anything ever will.
She says
guys.
she thought Charles might be innocent. He is 82, suffering from dementia. But her daughter told her she was not going to keep quiet.
I said, I don't know if the other two are involved or not, but I am
What's up,
going
Tattoo?
to tell the police.
Your daughter said she was going to tell the
Great
police.
case.
Yeah, she's going to tell the police right
Thanks
away.
for recommending it.
And she gets you.
These are pictures a neighbor took of Seattle police at the brothers' house last Friday and Saturday. They say they found an extensive collection of child pornography and evidence that they molested female relatives.
We also recovered a lot of extensive writings. These writings detail.
Now, these guys apparently have a manifesto. It's some kind of CSAM manifesto. If you can find it, please send it to my email. That way, when we do a follow-up on some of these cases, we can include that. And I think some of the details might be very telling, might give us some insight into the mind of these creeps.
Not only some of the sexual abuse, the interest in young female children, but in addition to that, very graphic descriptions of harming and doing very disgusting things to children as well.
Edna confirmed what we found in these court documents, that Charles worked at Seattle Children's Hospital as a janitor in the 70s and 80s. Now, we did get a statement from Children's.
Indeed.
They say they are devastated by this news, but they say they have not been able to confirm
It's like the Texas
his
Chainsaw
employment
Massacre
through their
house.
records. They say they are in
Hey, Miranda.
communication with the King County prosecutor.
So those are some of the suspects there. Before we get into the affidavit, let's pull up these maps that I put together. Let's take a look here. So this is one that I just grabbed online. This will give you a quick idea of the distance. 168 miles from where she was taken in McCleary to where she was eventually found, about 20 miles outside of Ellensburg. So I don't know, if you ask me, it almost appears as if Tacoma or Kent, this area here, could be like an anchor point. You almost traveled the same distance to commit the abduction as you did to dump your victim. It's almost as if this would be an anchor point here. Or they're from McCleary, and this is as far as they were willing to travel. Or they were passing through, right? They do believe that the killer could have been at the gas station that she was found. The security footage that we're going to see here in a minute. But here's one of the maps that I put together. Okay, so you got Lindsey's home on the right side here. And the gas station in question. Now, I believe that guy, Paul Beaker, I think he was found on the security camera footage here. And he's the same guy, I believe, who was arrested for the 2003 cold case rape. And here is the Beehive Assisted Living Community. There's actually a suspect here, a person of interest, who works here but wasn't working that day. But I think he's somebody that's been questioned. And this would have been Lindsey's friend's home here at the time. Oh, that sucks, tattoo. Drink a lot of water. Some garlic. Hey, Stephanie. Welcome in. Oh, that sucks. Well, it looks like the flu's going around, guys. Okay, so she would have left her friend's home, and she was actually seen right here as well. I think witnesses from the Beehive Assisted Living community. I think she was witness here, and then also between 5th and 6th Street. She was seen walking. So her brother went to go get her, or he took, I think she may have taken her brother's bike. I'm sorry. I think she took her brother's bike to her friend's house. I need to figure out these details, so if you guys can help me, but I think she took her brother's bike and he came to get it. They had an argument over the bike because apparently she left it. So I think he grabbed his bike and then left her somewhere around here. They got into an argument and he says, well, then I'm leaving you. He rides home and she continues on walking. So if she's last seen between 6th and 5th Street right here, it's most likely she was abducted somewhere right here. And look how close she is to her home. This is like a pivotal point right here. She's just going to cut right through this gas station. Now, this is the area she was most likely taken. And it's pretty secluded right here. Okay, here's a close-up of the Beehive. So she would have left her friend's house coming up the street this way. She would have been seen right around this area. So here's the gas station. This road here is the road that leads to her home. But in order to catch this road, she has to go out of her way and kind of wrap around this sign here. So instead of doing that, she most likely cut right through. She probably went right through the gas station. And I think it was somewhere over here where she was abducted. Somebody pumping gas. She walks right through. And then when he leaves, he confronts her over here in this area. Back in here. So here's an aerial view. She would have been coming down Maple Street. But what's strange is the dogs, they mapped out the scent, and she didn't take that route. She kind of went out of her way somewhere around here, according to the scent the dogs took. Like she went down this road and then back up and kind of like a couple twists and turns, according to the dogs that were tracking her. So she may have gotten into an altercation here and was trying to run from somebody. But I'll have to look more into that. I don't know how accurate it was. It was a report that I found online. But I think she originally came through here. Would cut right through here. She may even spend some time in this little parking lot, just cut right through. And her house is right up here. So I could totally see her walking through this parking area. There's nothing but trees here. Somebody would have to be out looking outside. But yeah, I have a feeling this is where she was abducted. Right here. This reminds me a lot of the Carly Bruscia case. Here's the security footage from that case. Now, she was walking home from a friend's house. I mean, the details of the case are almost identical. This guy's still in his work uniform. I believe he was a mechanic. And she's walking on her way home, and she decides to cut behind this business here. He took that opportunity to park his vehicle and perpetrate a ruse, I think. I think he told her he was law enforcement, pull something out of his pocket, maybe a fake badge or something. She's 11 years old. She would be found strangled and deceased behind a local church. This is the Carly Bruscia case. I think something very similar happened to Lindsey. And I think it happened right here. I think she passed through this gas station. Somebody was finishing pumping their gas. She cut through the parking lot, and this is where they grabbed her. Very similar to Carly. Now, I wonder if they sell diesel here. Let me look at this sign here. Yep, they do. And I wonder how high these are. I wonder if a big truck could come in here. They sell diesel. I don't know if you have truckers coming in and out of here or not. I was assuming that's why they had that long parking area. They have a business here where you can probably back up big trucks in here for load ups and drop offs. Hey, Stephanie, welcome in. Here's some photos from the search. This is near Ellensburg. She was found about 20 miles outside of the city limits. So, I mean, it could be somebody that lives there or had business there. Definitely not rolling out a trucker. Sarcastic Leo. I'm glad the piece of shit I caught and testified against, plus the judge who gave the most appropriate sentence, which is 50 years in his words. I hope this sentence will be long enough. Part 1 of 2. Yeah, that's good news, Sarcastic. Sorry to hear that happened to you, but I'm glad you were able to get some justice. Good for you. Welcome in, by the way. We're glad to have you here. All right. Shout out to our new member, Peruvian 69 and 63 Clocks, who has been giving memberships away almost to every live stream for the past couple days. So check your stockings. You may now be a member of the Sleuth Crew. Just in time for the giveaway. Check your stockings, guys. Sarcastic. I hope my chat is not inappropriate. I've been banned before for saying what happened. No, you can talk about it. We're here to advocate for victims of these types of crimes. This is a safe space for you. You know, as long as you treat everybody here respectfully, you'll always have a place here. Look at this search. It's impressive. And look at the treacherous land. I mean, this is where you would go, you know, to find a lot of animals and not a lot of people. Hey, Caricature. Good to see you. Oh, Sparky, that sucks. Sorry about that. Make sure you take care of yourself. Lots of liquid. Keep your temperature under control. Here's another view of the area. So this is going to be about 20 miles outside of the city limits. Okay, here was an article that I pulled also on those 3 brothers. Let's take a look. This is by Emily Blackwood, written December 3rd, 2019, titled Horrific Details About 3 Brothers Turned In by a Family Member After Evidence About Missing 10-Year-Old Girl Lindsey Baum Found Along with a Terrifying Abuse and Murder Manifesto. There's that house. After 8 years of looking for Lindsey Baum, Seattle police might finally have some answers. The disturbing discoveries made at the home of Emory brothers, Charles Emory, 82, Toman, Emory, 80, and Edwin Emory, 79, included staggering amounts of child pornography, worn children's clothing and underwear, magazine clippings of missing and murdered young girls, toys, movies, and a manifesto about satanic rituals, kidnapping, raping, and killing girls. So once again, God is good, but some people are evil. I mean, look at this. This is your example of the evil that we're fighting against. That damn free will. You know, do what thou will is the law. That comes from Aleister Crowley. And it's that satanic doctrine that a lot of these predators live by. If you feel like killing, being a child murderer, go for it. Defile yourself. Another heart-wrenching find was a flyer about Lindsey Baum, a 10-year-old girl who went missing while walking a few blocks home from a friend's house back in 2009. Her body was never found. Well, we know it was eventually found. She had mentioned that a man in a white car had been following her prior to her disappearance. She also had a premonition less than 24 hours prior to going missing when she told her mother that she had a feeling something bad was going to happen to her. The next night, she was gone. Wow. Got chills. It's very clear that these three individuals have an obsession with young female children. They've had this obsession for most, if not all, of their lives, and they acted on it, said Captain Mike Edwards, who leads the Seattle Police Department's Internet Crimes Against Children's Task Force. In the notes found on the property, he described how the girls would wear penny loafers prior to their abuse and murders. Dozens of children's penny loafers were found in the house. Police learned about the house when the daughter of Edwin's twin sister went to clean. She was in Charles's room. Edna, Edwin's twin, said of her daughter, and I guess she was going through the boxes and stuff to see what was in them, and she found these little shoes and stuff. Though Edna said Charles, who is suffering from dementia, might be innocent, her daughter still went to the police. However, officers now believe that Charles was the one who wrote the manifesto, which was found buried and partially burned along with the child's hat. Edwin's niece, who is Charles's legal guardian, told police that her uncles molested both her and her mother when they were children. I mean, these guys, I don't have words for this. I'm almost speechless. All of this evidence led police to search the grounds of the house for any sign of a murder, but so far haven't found any other signs of the children or any human remains. The search has been expanded to the late house and the 14 acres of land that surround it. Police are also vocalizing their belief that they might find some evidence in Baum's case due to their flyer they found. The child went missing in McCleary, which is about 30 minutes away from the Emory brothers' house of horrors. There's that anchor point we talked about. Wow, they might be onto something here. But I mean, these guys are career criminals, potential serial killers. They know how to get away with it. They're not going to do anything on their land. Just like the Houck brothers. The Lindsey Baum case has been and will be a priority until we find closure or find Lindsey safe. We've worked on the case every day in some shape or form. Sheriff Rick Scott said there are no other known connections between the brothers and Baum. Another cold case has the potential to be solved. Tracy West was abducted and killed in 1988. The 17-year-old was last seen riding a motorcycle on her way to work in the same town the brothers live in. The brothers bought the house in 1962, and Charles worked as a janitor in a local children's hospital in 1970s and 1980s. Well, we know who committed that murder. They actually found the guy. And interesting enough, he was near the scene of the crime. The perpetrator of that rape. In 2013, police interviewed Edwin after an Office Depot employee found child porn on Edwin's computer. When he turned it in for service and repair, Edwin admitted to the pornography and sexual abusing his sister and the same sister's daughter, Edna, and also told police he had an attraction to sub-teenage girls. But charges against him were never filed. All three brothers were charged with 2 counts of second-degree possession and depiction of CSAM. 10 years after her daughter's disappearance, Lindsey's mother, Melissa Baum, is still seeking answers. In a June 2019 interview, Baum said of the cold case, who did it? How? Why? None of those are answered. The only answer I have is my daughter is never coming home, Melissa Baum said. It's been hell. I mean, she's been gone almost as long as she was alive. She went on to say, I'm angry pretty much 24 hours a day. I'm angry. I missed prom. I missed her first boyfriend, her first kiss, her first dance. She missed everything. She was 10. Very sad case. And you can just see the personality behind those eyes of Lindsey. This case needs your help, guys. All right, we are running out of time, but I think we have just enough time to go through some of the affidavit here. So pull this up. Thanks, Cindy. Positivity is the answer for everything. Anything I Like says, I still say when you pass away, your DNA should be collected and put in a database, and that way you can be checked for possible cold cases. That's a good idea. I wonder if people can volunteer for that. I know when you do those genealogy things online, you're pretty much volunteering yourself. On most of them, anyway. Yeah, GP, it's sad, but that's the first thing I thought about was the guilt. GP says, I'm sure her brother has been beating the crap out of his own mind for leaving his sister like that. Yeah, the guilt must be unbearable. Yeah, we got the security footage, Farmer. That'll be the last thing that we look at. This thing's got a lot of details on the case here. It's kind of long, though. So I don't know if we'll be able to read it all. We'll try. I don't mind reading. All right. I am a detective with Grays Harbor County Sheriff's Office, and I am currently assigned to the Investigations Division. On June 27th, 2009 at 1:30 a.m., Grays Harbor Sheriff deputies responded to assist McCleary Police Department in locating a missing child named Lindsey Baum. Baum, who was 10 years old, was last seen on Maple Street near 6th Street in McCleary at about 9:30 p.m. She was last known to be wearing a blue long-sleeve shirt, blue jeans, black shoes, and mismatched bikini-style swimsuit. She was walking east on Maple Street from the Campen residence towards her residence on Momenson Road in McCleary. An extensive search was conducted over the next weeks by law enforcement. Search and rescue volunteers, K-9 teams, and citizens. Baum could not be located, nor has any evidence been located. The incident became a criminal investigation concerning an apparent kidnapping of Baum. Located on Maple Street between 5th and 6th Street is Beehive Retirement Center. Baum is familiar with the center because her friend, redacted, mother Libby Nelson, works there. As part of the investigation, employees and residents were interviewed about what they knew about Baum and her disappearance. Several of the staff and residents were familiar with Baum and her friend because Baum walked by the retirement center to and from her friend Campen's residence on Maple Street. So it could be somebody who watches her coveting, right? None knew anything about her disappearance, nor had they seen her the night of June 26, 2009. Not all of the employees were available to interview at the time. The investigators were on site. On 7/29/09, a concerned citizen named Redacted contacted investigators and wanted to report that a subject named Dale Golder worked at the Beehive Retirement Center. Sample said that Dale drove a small white car with a loud exhaust. Sample said that Golder usually drove his car through town numerous times a day. He said that for several weeks after the bomb girl disappeared, Golden wasn't in town driving like he normally did. Sample found this suspicious. Sample identified another resident in McCleary who was familiar with Golder's vehicle, and his driving habits. Mantis was contacted and told investigators that Golder drove a small white sports car with a loud exhaust. Mentes said Golder drove around town on a regular basis. He also told investigators that on the night of June 26, 2009, at 10 p.m., he saw a small white sports car with a loud exhaust on Maple Street in McCleary that he thought was Golder. He did not see who was driving the vehicle and thought nothing of it because seeing Golder driving around was normal. Golder is the registered owner of a white 1995 Honda Del Sol. Washington license plate redacted. One of the employees who was not working at the center that night had been identified as Golder. He is an aide at the center and is scheduled for various shifts as fill-in. Golder was on regularly scheduled days off on June 26, 2009 and June 27, 2009. Attempts were made to contact him on July 29, 2009 for a telephone interview to see if he had any information about Baum, based on Mentes' observation of what appeared to be his vehicle in McCleary on the night and at about the time Baum was last seen. Tina Golder, Dale Golder's mother, told investigator he was asleep at the time. The investigators called on July 29, 2009. She was asked to have him call an investigator when he woke up. His mother called about 30 minutes later and said that Dale had gotten up and left the residence in his vehicle. According to his mother, when she had told him that an investigator wanted a call, he said he had nothing to tell investigators because he was not working at the retirement center that night. His mother provided Dale's cell phone number to the investigator. The investigator telephoned him, and Dale said he had not worked at the center that day. When asked where he was on the evening of June 26, 2009, he said he was working at his second job at a youth camp near Olympia. Jeez. The investigator contacted his supervisor at the youth camp. He stated that Golder was not working on the night of June 26, 2009. When asked if she was certain, she said she was because she had suspended Golder for 2 weeks prior to June 26, 2009 for misbehavior. She said she had been involved in a traffic collision and could not walk. She said while she was recuperating at home, other employees in the camp kitchen telephoned her and complained that Golder was not doing his work and was being disruptive. She said she telephoned him and told him to go home for 2 weeks until she could return. She said she told him he needed to take that time to think about whatever he really wanted to work, if he really wanted to work at the camp or not. She stated that she had sent Golder home for a shift at the time without pay in the past for misbehavior. Golder later confirmed that he had been suspended from June 7th, 2008 through June 27th, 2009. He returned to working at the camp June 28, 2009. On 7/31/09, just after midnight, Melissa Baum, the mother of the missing girl, reported to police she was being followed around by a white vehicle. Officers stopped and found that Golder was driving it. He claimed he was at work when he saw Melissa's vehicle around the Beehive Retirement Center. He thought it was suspicious, so he followed it around thinking it might be connected with Baum's disappearance. He did not call police to report the suspicious vehicle. Investigators interviewed a coworker of Golder. She said that on 2 separate nights near the end of July 2009, Golder told her that a silver Honda Del Sol was cruising around the Beehive. Golder pointed it out to her one night and said he thought the occupants of the silver Honda were going to steal parts from his Del Sol. Bryson claimed that Golder tried to get a license number but could not. She said the next night the vehicle was back and Golder left work to follow it. She said he told her that he called the police about it. He did not tell her he was following Melissa Baum or that the police stopped him. So he was lying. This guy seems very suspicious. While looking into Golder's background, it was discovered that in 2000 he was a suspect in the attempted rape of a child. The case was located under McCleary Police Department case number 00MC0014. Golder was 14 years old at the time of the incident. It was determined that the victim of the assault was named redacted. She was 12 years old at the time. No reports of this incident appear to exist except a computer entry. Investigators attempted to locate redacted. They first located her mother. Initially, the mother said nothing like this ever happened involving her daughter. She was pressed and given details, and she stated she didn't believe anything had happened to her daughter. See, that's messed up. She said that when the police arrived to speak to her daughter told police nothing had happened. She's probably scared and was threatened. Investigators then contacted Redacted. She stated that in 2000, she and her two brothers were being babysat by Golder. She said her mother was good friends with Tina Golder and said that while Golder watched porn videos and had her and her brothers and Dale's younger brother watch the videos, he asked her to have sex with him and she refused. One day, he took her to his room and barricaded the door with a large dresser. He removed her pants and removed his pants and tried to have sexual intercourse with her. She said that she cried and struggled, and after 2 hours, he released her. She said she told friends about what happened, whom she believed told school officials at Elma School District. It was reported to police her mother found out about the incident. Redacted said her mother told her it would be her word against his and discouraged her from telling the police the truth. When the police officer spoke to her, she said she told him nothing happened. That's really messed up. What a horrible mother. Thank you, Cindy. We are now officially sponsored. Young guy. And this mother should be ashamed. A search warrant for Golder's cellular telephone records for a month prior and a month after June 26, 2009 was obtained. When the records were analyzed, it was learned that Golder was texting and calling a number in eastern Washington repeatedly from about noon on 6/26/09 until 9:26 p.m. There was an excess of 50 contacts to this number that suddenly stopped at 9:26 p.m. Redacted received a cellular call from a subject identified as Redacted at 1:11 a.m. that had a duration of 2 minutes. After that, he did not make a call until 6:12 a.m. This is contrary to the pattern of cell phone usage shown. He normally has frequent cell phone activity until at least midnight to 1 a.m. each day. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you for being awesome. Investigators determined that the number he was calling and texting belonged to a Stephanie Calica, who resides in Ellenburg, Washington. She was contacted and interviewed. They determined that Stephanie Calica knew Golder when she went to Elma High School. She moved to Michigan in 2002. She maintained contact with people in Elma, including Dale, via the internet. She said she moved back to Washington State at the end of May 2009 and let people know she had moved. She said that on 6/26/09, she decided to give Golder her telephone number. She said that they began to text and talk that day. She was asked why the contact stopped at 9:30 p.m. She said that it stopped because Golder went to work at 10 p.m. When asked, she admitted that after that day, she had a lengthy conversation with Golder while he was at work at the retirement center. She said that Golder had talked to her that day after the girl was reported missing, that he was very concerned about something like this happening in his town. She said that when she spoke to him the day after this was reported, she believed it was Saturday or early Sunday. Golder told her he could not believe that a girl had been taken and cut up and dismembered. It should be noted that the media investigators did not believe Baum was the victim of a crime until the week following her disappearance. It was initially believed she might be a runaway or had been injured and unable to get help. Stephanie described Golder as being over the top and obsessively talking about Baum and what had happened to her. specifically that he believed she has been kidnapped and murdered. Stephanie said that he became less obsessed as July wore on. He then got very agitated about it again when he talked to the investigator about the case the end of July. Steph said that Dale was very upset that the investigators were talking to people about him and was obsessing about the girl. Detective Organ asked Stephanie when was the last time she actually saw Golder, and she said it was the summer of 2002. She later told detectives that Golder had driven to Ellensburg on 7/16/09 and that he had to take him back to Elma, and that she had to take him back to Elma because his car broke down. She said she stayed with him in McCleary until 7/20/09. On 8/26/08, investigators saw Redacted in McCleary and contacted him about the case. He was asked to relate everything he had done from the time to go up. He wrote a brief paragraph about going to a neighbor's house next door and planting tomatoes and having a barbecue. He said he went home about 9 p.m. to watch television, but passed out and woke up in the morning. He claimed that he had been home and had not been in the town of McCleary that night. He claimed not to know Lindsey Baum and had never seen her before. Further investigation revealed that Redacted resides in a shop on his property outside of town of McCleary. He rents the house on the property to a subject named Redacted. As interviewed, it was learned that he planted his garden near a garden that Golder had planted. Both gardens are located between the house and the shop on the property. Redacted stated that he had planted his garden the last week of May or the first week of June. He said that Golder had planted his garden weeks before he did. When asked why he was sure of this, he said it was because he and Golder had discussed the progress of their tomato plants. He said that his had developed into much better plants than Golder's, even though they were planted later. He said that until the evening of Wednesday, August 26, 2009, or Thursday, August 27, 2009, he had only seen Golder around the shop maybe once or twice all summer. He said that after those dates, Golder sometimes had been at Hardy's residence talking to him almost every evening. The increased visits coincide with Redacted being interviewed on 8/26/09. Ralke described Redacted as having some mental issues that may be due to alcohol or drug abuse. He said he can be manipulated into believing things that did not occur. Investigators interviewed Redacted. He stated that he had a barbecue on 6/26/09. He said Golder and a woman named Redacted had attended. Investigators believe she had been at Redacted's on 6/26/09 when Golder was present. She agreed to meet with investigators in person for an interview. I believe there is probable cause to believe Lindsey Baum has been kidnapped and that evidence of the crime described on the face of this affidavit will be found on the premises and the vehicle described on the face of this affidavit. Based on the foregoing information, I respectfully request a search warrant. So this must be the search warrant here for this gentleman, Golder. So that must be their prime suspect there. And him going to Ellensburg and not having his vehicle most likely tells me he got rid of it or burned it. Hope you guys check your stockings. We got 3 memberships that have been gifted by Cindy Lean. 'Tis the season. So you guys may be a member of the Sleuth Crew and not even know it. All right, let's catch up on this chat here. Yeah, Melissa, I'm excited to see what names those are as well, if they actually release it. So I think on part 2 of this, we're going to look into this Golder character a little bit more. Let's go to the security footage here from the gas station, and then we'll get out of here. I have 2 videos So I'm not sure if this is the guy from the cold case, the 2003 rape, but it looks like him. So there's that one. And then this one. And I think they're looking for the identity of this guy right here in the blue shirt or the brown shirt. Exactly, true crime. Anything I like, Sleuth, I'm going to email you some information on the case. Yes, please do. We're going to do a part 2 on this one. What's up, Angela? Yeah, and they were trying to figure out this white truck here. Because right when this footage was taken, she should be walking around here somewhere. She's very close by. Now, right where I think she would have passed by through this little area is right here. And this truck would have seen her. And there was like a van pulling in too. Did you guys see that? Right there. I always wondered about this van. It's a creepy van. But I think we're going to look more into this Golder character. All right, guys. That is all my time for today. I appreciate everybody who was able to catch the live stream and participate in the chat. Shout out to you guys. Special thanks to Peruvian, 63 Clocks, Cindy Lean, Farmer, Cindy Lean, Cindy Lean, Cindy Lean, and Cindy Lean. And if you guys are part of that replay crew, you know what to do. Leave me a comment and we'll get back to you. If you are subscribed now, make sure you have that bell icon selected. And also consider becoming a member. We do stay active. And we do have a giveaway coming up December 27th. And you must be present to win. Yep, exactly. We used to love playing hide and seek. Hey, what's up, Jamie? All righty, guys. That is going to do it for today's live stream. Once again, if you could please share this. Put the word out about what happened to Lindsey. And I will see you guys again very soon. So take care of yourselves and be safe. I'll catch you on the next one.